The Rangers offense is back and better than ever with a 15-5 victory to head into the final off day of the season with a 10-run win. We're going to break down what went right for the Rangers in this series with the Red Sox and more. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a criminally addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 10 seasons, including 5 as the host and founder of the Locked On Rangers podcast. Thank y'all so much for making us your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into today's show, this episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, today is Thursday, September 21st. Your Rangers are 84-68 at this point. As I am recording this, the Rangers are holding the third wildcard spot in what will probably end up being a tie with the Seattle Mariners, unless the A's have some really great comeback here in these last 3 innings, which I don't necessarily see happening, or if I believe it's the Blue Jays blow a game tonight against the Yankees. I don't really particularly see that happening. The Rangers, just a half game back in the AL West from those stinking Houston Astros, who pulled one out to not get swept at home against the Orioles, so close to an Orioles sweep. And the Rangers heading into this weekend series atop the AL West with a half game lead on the Astros. That would have been really nice. It would have been just super fantastic. But alas, it is not to be. But the Rangers did take 2 out of 3 in this series against the Boston Red Sox. And this team scored 15 unanswered runs. 15 unanswered runs in a span of 6 innings. Like, just absolutely phenomenal, masterful, beautiful job by this offense of not getting down, not getting distraught early. They were down 4-0 by the time they got to bat in the second inning. And by the time they were done batting in the second inning, they had a 6-4 lead, which they would maintain, and that would have been enough to win this game. It would have been a lot more nerve-wracking, but it would have been enough to win this game. But no, the Rangers said, 6 runs is enough. 8 runs isn't good enough. 10 runs isn't good enough. 13 runs isn't good enough. 15 runs is what we want. And 15 runs is what they got, because this offense absolutely annihilated Brayan Bello. It got to the point where I did feel bad for Brayan Bello. He had an incredibly difficult second inning of work where the Rangers dropped 6 runs on him, not 16 runs in 1 inning. I'm pretty darn sure that would be an MLB record for most runs scored in a single inning. But the Rangers got to him. He threw about 38 pitches in that second inning of work. It was looking like it was going to be a difficult day for both sides, because Jon Gray was getting lit up early, and the first plate appearance of the game was an 8-pitch walk by Marcus Semien. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a bit of a slugfest, because neither of these guys has their command. It wasn't just that it was an 8-pitch walk, but there were quite a few pitches that were just severely missing the mark by Brayan Bello, like not close misses. And, well, it turns out it was a 1-2-3 inning, because Corey Seager flew out, and then Nathaniel Lowe grounded into a double play. And I thought, well, maybe not. And then Rangers go into the bottom of the second inning with that 4-run deficit. And it did not matter, because the Rangers offense was clicking on every single cylinder that has ever existed. It was a fantastic inning, because it started off with a Josh Jung single, Adolis Garcia walk, and then before you could blink, a Jonah Heim time 18th bomb of the season, a 3-run bomb. Rangers are down now just 4-3, and then before you could blink again, Mitch Garver comes up and hits a home run. Then you get a Leody Taveras single, an Evan Carter double, a Marcus Semien single to score a pair. Then Corey Seager grounds into a double play, and Nathaniel Lowe grounds out 6-4 Rangers, which, funny enough, of all the hard hit balls, which there were quite a few hard hit balls, almost every single ball that they hit in the second inning was a hard hit ball outside of, I believe it was just Corey Seager. And the hardest hit ball of the inning, Corey Seager had that double play, was 89.9 miles an hour off the bat, but the hardest hit ball of that inning was Nathaniel Lowe's 110.6 mile an hour ground out. The Rangers were just absolutely dominating Brayan Bello. And you thought, okay, well, he had a tough inning, but he came back out there. He got a couple of strikeouts in the bottom of the third inning. He got Josh Jung and Adolis Garcia to expand the zone, which was really frustrating because he just was not hitting his spots. And you think with both of those guys that I was really impressed with their bats in the second inning is that they were not expanding the zone. Adolis Garcia took that walk. Josh Jung waited till he got a pitch that he could handle, and then he got a single, which was initially ruled an error, and then was later changed to a single because it was 99 miles an hour off the bat. It was a tough play for the second baseman, and I thought it was pretty rough to charge him for an error in there, and I thought Josh Jung really deserved that hit, which he did. But with 2 outs, the Rangers rallied yet again. Jonah Heim worked a walk. Mitch Garver was hit by a pitch. I was really frustrated with Leody Taveras because, Jonah Heim was having a patient at bat, and Mitch Garver was having a fairly patient at bat and making him work and making Brayan Bello throw a lot of pitches. Brayan Bello has been their best starter this year. This has been the Red Sox, number 1 this year. He's been very good. He's been very good just in general. And for whatever reason, the Red Sox kind of left him to the wolves. Leody Taveras really expanded the zone his first couple of pitches of that at-bat in the third inning, but he was able to work it back to, I believe it was an even count, and then drive a single right up the middle, make it a 7-4 ball game. Then Evan Carter worked a 3-1 count and hit a single. Actually, that was just he took one pitch and then took the other one and a single as well. Marcus Semien worked a walk, and then that was a bases loaded walk to drive in the 8th run of the game. Then Corey Seager had a weak ground out for Corey Seager standards. But this team working these deep counts and working at bats. And by the way, there was nobody warming until I believe Marcus Semien's walk. That was the first time that somebody was warming. And this was like a 25, 26 pitch inning. It might have gotten all the way up to 30 in the third inning after he had just had a 38 pitch inning. And I'm all for whatever, you want to be a hard A and teach your guy a lesson. But he's 24 years old. This is by far his career high in innings pitched. Last year in Boston, he threw 57 innings in his first career, 57 in the third innings in his first career outing or first career season in the big leagues. This year, he's got 27 starts under his belt, 151 innings pitched. That is a big old jump. I don't know how many he pitched in the minor leagues, but it felt like, I don't know why, but the Red Sox were just leaving him to the wolves. And then Bally Sports Southwest showed in the dugout after that third inning when Bello was eventually pulled for Robertson, who was somehow even worse than Bello and allowed 5 runs in his 2 innings of work. There was just an icy stare down between him and Bello and Cora. And I don't know what Bello could have possibly done to warrant being left out there to learn some sort of lesson. But that's just kind of the difference between where the Rangers are and where the Boston Red Sox are. Is Boston Red Sox are pretty much completely out of it. I don't think they're officially eliminated from the wild card race, but they're all but eliminated from the wild card race. And the Rangers made the choice to go with a quick hook and take Jon Gray out when he was struggling. The Red Sox didn't, and it really made all the difference in the world. Coming up, we're going to look at what that quick hook for Jon Gray means, a little bit more about the depth of this lineup, and Martin Perez having the game of his freaking life at the most important time for the Rangers. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy all the tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hype about the fun you're going to have. They've got flash deals and last-minute tickets. It's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. You've got images of seat views, so you know exactly what to expect once you get there. They've got the lowest price guarantee, even event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and etc. They've got all kinds of different stuff. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set. If you want to get some tickets to this weekend series against Seattle, it's going to be a tough ticket to get, but I'm willing to bet there are some pretty good tickets on Gametime. You got to go check it out. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Shout out to the Raiders for making Locked On Raiders your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, or on Friday's show, I should say, I'm going to have the Cespedes Family Barbecue Boys on. It's going to be a great episode. Make sure that y'all tune in. They're very excited to have them on the show. The Raiders take on the Mariners this weekend. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, Jon Gray did not have his best stuff in this outing. He was getting hard hit just as much as Brian Bayo was in the first couple of innings. I believe there's only one batter that put the ball in play that it wasn't a hard hit ball. He was just getting absolutely lit up. He had 1 strikeout, 1 walk in 2 1/3 innings of work, 4 hits, 4 runs, all of them earned, and a couple of home runs that were absolute moonshot no doubters. This was yet another frustrating experience with Jon Gray. I mean, he is the most hot and cold. You're yes and you're no. You're in and you're out, as the Katy Perry song says. That song was actually written about Jon Gray. People don't realize that, but it was actually written about Jon Gray. In his last 3 starts, he has failed to get through 4 innings every single time out. He has allowed at least 3 runs in all of those starts, including one of them that was against the Oakland freaking A's. Like, this is really frustrating. This is not what Jon Gray wants. This is not what the Rangers want or need, with Nathan Eovaldi not being his full Nathan Eovaldi self. And Dane Dunning is probably your number 2 starter at this point, which is kind of nuts to say, but he's kind of backed it up all year long. Dane Dunning has been very, very good. He has had some bad outings, but you needed Jon Gray in this start. You need him in all of his starts down the stretch. But also, you need to be able to feel confident if you can pull him to put the bullpen in there and feel okay about what's going to go on. And the Rangers seem to have found the answer in Martin Perez. He was absolutely phenomenal this one. Maybe it was a bit melodramatic with the game of his life because he did have that complete game shutout in Houston last year, which was just so much fun. Honestly, so much fun. But in his last 7 games, Martin Perez seems to have figured it out in the bullpen. Those are all games that he has pitched out of the pen. He's got a 1.32 ERA in that span, 13 2/3 innings, 12 strikeouts, 2 walks, just 2 earned runs, a whip of 0.95, including in this one a phenomenal job in a game that was still very much a close game for most of it. I mean, the Rangers kept pulling away and pulling away and pulling away, but giving the Rangers this length, and so they only had to use 2 innings for the rest of their bullpen. Martin Perez went 4 2/3 innings, just 3 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, and just weak contact after weak contact after weak contact. My Martin Perez agenda lives. It is thriving. I am thriving in this to the point where, I don't know, if Jon Gray has another bad start, which is entirely possible, we'll see. We'll see what he looks like against the Anaheim Angels of Anaheim, of Los Angeles, of California, of that whole bit. I believe he's going to start on Monday. I think that's what this rotation is going to look like. The Rangers are going to use that off day that they have, their final off day of the season, to reset their rotation and not have to throw either Cody Bradford or Martin Perez or Andrew Heaney in a game this weekend against the Mariners. They're just going to have 1 start, which I believe is going to be against those Anaheim Angels of whatever on Tuesday. So I think the rotation in Anaheim is going to go Jon Gray, one of Cody Bradford or whoever. We saw Cody Bradford warming in this one, but thankfully he did not get used, so I think he's going to start. The Rangers are going to have probably a shorter leash on him than they had on Sunday's game when he got absolutely lit up against the Cleveland Guardians. He will have more time to get ready if the Rangers don't have to use him in a long relief role at any point in between now and then, which I'm hoping is going to be the case. But credit to Bruce Bochy for knowing his staff and knowing that, hey, this is the time to pull Jon Gray. This is the time where I absolutely needed to do that, because this is a game we cannot freaking lose. None of these games are losable, especially when you come back from down 4-0 and you throw Jon Gray out there to get that 1 out. You think, okay, that's it. That is all. We got what we needed from Jon Gray. Good enough job. Not just the completest of blow-up starts. Still a blow-up start. Still not good. Still not what you want from the guy who, at this point, should probably be your number 2 starter, if not number 1, but he's not, because he's not consistent, and you never know what you're going to get with him. If he can just get one, he's got like 1-2 starts the rest of the season. Just give 2 good starts. Go into the playoffs feeling good about yourself. Maybe have a decent playoff start. but like the Rangers really, really needed this game to be good from Jon Gray. It wasn't, but it showed the resilience of this team to be able to come back in that. And I mean, if he has a bad start in Anaheim, then it might be time to pull Jon Gray out of this rotation, which feels wild to say. But again, like I said with Martin Perez, he is looking like the best version of himself. When you sent him the pen, he voiced his displeasure. That I'm not happy about it, but I should have just pitched better, and I wouldn't have lost my starting spot in the rotation. But Gray has been just incredibly inconsistent over his last 7 games. He's got a 6.5 ERA. If you look over his last 15 starts, he's got a 5.5 ERA and 30 walks in 75 and a third innings, like just a whip of 1.5 in those last 15 starts. It's been very not good for Jon Gray. When the Rangers have needed him the most, it's like they say in Avatar: The Last Airbender. When the Rangers needed him most, he vanished for over 100 years, frozen in ice. Except instead of being frozen in ice, he was just absolutely shellacked by the Boston Red Sox and their offense. Not a great day for Jon Gray, not what the Rangers needed from him, but huge kudos to Bruce Bochy for not only firing this team up, but putting the right guys in the lineup instead of giving Robbie Grossman a day. He kept his normal DH in Mitch Garver. He switched the lineup around a little bit, put Mitch Garver hitting 7th. And I mean, again, 1 through 9, this lineup can hang with just about anybody. Coming up, we're going to look a little bit closer at that and why it's making me reconsider my stance on bringing up Wyatt Langford. Not just because of what Wyatt Langford is doing, because of what everybody in this offense is doing. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Snap into the action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, odds, over-unders, and more. You can bet on the NFL if you're feeling good about those Dallas Cowboys. If you're feeling good about your Texas Rangers, there's all kinds of baseball odds as well. If you're betting on the Rangers to win the AL West, I'm not exactly sure what their odds are right now, but I bet they're not as good as they were 2 months ago, but still, if you're feeling confident in this Rangers team and you want to go put your money where your mouth is, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Monday's show, we might just be having a crossover with Locked On Mariners to break down this ginormous series this weekend. The Rangers take on the Mariners this weekend. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, this offense, 15 runs. What? 15 runs after an anemic weekend in Cleveland, after an amazing week in Toronto, and after a not super great first game of the series against Boston. It should have been enough to win. The Rangers should have swept this series, but again, bullpen troubles. But this offense, I've heard so many complaints about this offense and about how this offense is just actually mid. Actually, this offense is not that good. Actually, this offense was a bunch of frauds all season long, and I was right to never believe in them. No. If you're feeling like that, you're wrong. You are silly. You are acting childish, and just stop doing that. But the Rangers have 5 bats in their lineup who were all-stars this season, and at points, Mitch Garver has performed like an all-star. But there's this note from Kennedy Landry of MLB.com who said that the Rangers haven't had all 5 of the All-Stars in their lineup before, I think it was yesterday's game, since July. Since July, I believe it was the 21st. So for all this Rangers tail spinning that's been done and the offense, taking a step back, you take that many guys out of the lineup, and eventually they're going to take some steps back. Now, the guys who were replacing them, for the most part, stood up and did a half-decent job. Ezekiel Duran had some moments when he stepped in for Josh Jung. Josh Smith had his moments as well. Had some great games from Mitch Garver when he stepped up and showed out. But, there was some huge blowback from Leo Taveras. We didn't see Evan Carter for a while. It was just... There was only so much you can do, and Marcus Semien and Corey Seager were doing their absolute best. They didn't have to do much in this one, thankfully. But during that stretch, you take that many All-Stars out of the lineup, no team is going to score 10 runs a game every single day. Like, it's not reasonable to expect anything like that. But the depth of this lineup is truly sensational. Leody Taveras has been on an absolute heater as of late. In his last 30 games, he's hitting over 300, with on base of 364 and slugging 433. In his last 15 games, he's hitting 383 with an on base of 455. He's got an on base of 435 in his last 7 games as well. So still only 1 home run in that 30-game span. There's been a few balls that were hit to the warning track that I thought might leave the yard. Really would like to get him a few more home runs, but if he's getting on base at a rate like this, I mean, 2 for 3 with a walk in this one. I mean, the last game he was 1 for 2 with 2 walks, and then got a walk in the first game of the series too, while playing exceptional defense in center field. And then you have the rookie Evan Carter, 3 for 4 day, pinch hit for Robbie Grossman, even though he had a chance at the cycle. Really would have loved to seen him get a chance to actually hit for the cycle. His second career double, his second career homer, his, career single, a 3-hit day, a 2 RBI day, a 2-run scored day. Just a phenomenal job. His OPS is up to 1,032 on the season, hitting 314. He has been absolutely sensational. Leody Taveras is upped his OPS for the season up to 742. I mean, this lineup is just so incredibly dangerous. And the Jonah Heim home run, I mean, him finding his swing and him having patient at bats and him just doing damage is absolutely exceptionally important for this lineup. I mean, just so huge for this lineup. We almost got to the point where pretty much everybody in the starting lineup has an OPS over 800. Jonah Heim's took that pretty precipitous dip when he came back, and for 10, 14-ish games just did not look like himself. But again, when all these guys are hot, or even most of these guys are hot, because Corey Seager didn't have the best at-bats. He still had an RBI and a run scored and a double in this one, because that's what he does, his 41st double of the season, because why not? I mean, but everybody in this game piling on, and even Josh Jung getting in on the action. A 3-hit day, a 2 RBI day, 3 runs scored for him. A couple of strikeouts that weren't super pretty, but getting on the board with that home run, his first since coming back off the IL. I know that felt great for him. Only took him 3 games to get back in the home run column. 23 home runs for him. Reminding people, hey, I deserve some love and the Rookie of the Year award race too. And what did Gunnar Henderson do? He just had a 1 for 4 day and didn't sweep the Astros, which is honestly very rude of him. And I think for that reason alone, they should not vote him for AL Rookie of the Year. And it should go to Josh Jung. But I digress. I mean, this lineup, so incredibly good, so incredibly talented, so incredibly deep. And because you have Evan Carter and Leody Taveras and even Robbie Grossman, who's got his OPS on the season up to 740, he has been on a tear as of late, and the Rangers just don't have room for him because they don't really need him, because he's not better than Adolis Garcia. He's not better than Evan Carter right now. He's not better than Leody Taveras right now. And so he's also not better than Mitch Garver. So he's not really getting those at-bats. The Rangers did give him a plate appearance in this one, which I think was ultimately the right call. Would have been fun to see Evan Carter go for the triple in the cycle. But, I mean, it's a 15-4 game at that point. There's not really any use rolling your eyes or, criticizing pretty much anything that was going on at that point. But still, this lineup is incredibly deep, incredibly solid. This is reminiscent of the 2021 San Francisco Giants lineup. That was the best lineup in all of baseball that year. And because of the coaching staff that they have, because of the offensive approach that they have, because of the talented players that they have, there's not really a need for you to go ahead and call up Wyatt Langford, which feels insane. For a little while I was saying, the Rangers don't need Wyatt Langford because they have Robbie Grossman. But the real reason is that they don't need Wyatt Langford because Leody Taveras is on an absolute heater as of right now. He is absolutely doing his job. He is having prolonged plate appearances. He is being annoying at the bottom of the order. He's getting on base. He is doing the things that you want from your center fielder that is your number 8 hole hitter. And Evan Carter, having a 3-hit day like this, playing great defense, being a super pesky at bat, just having these great plate appearances, that is what you want from him. And then, or you're going to put him in over Mitch Garver, who has been absolutely sensational, an 883 OPS in the big leagues this year. Just had his, 18th home run of the season, which is kind of insane that Mitch Garver and Jonah Heim have the same amount of home runs this year, while Mitch Garver has played 40, 50 fewer games. Garver on the season has let's see, where'd we go? 78 games played this year, whereas Jonah Heim got his 18th home run of the season in what is his 121st game of the season. So the Mitch Garver power experience is absolutely exceptional. And it kind of asked some questions about next year, about what this Rangers lineup is going to do, because they're going to have the same problem. I mean, you're going to have to figure out who's going to be your everyday center fielder, whether it's going to be Leody Taveras or Evan Carter, and if Wyatt Langford forces his way in the conversation, because he just might. He has been that freaking good. It is a very good problem to have. It is something the Rangers might address via a trade. I think Ezekiel Duran might be on the trading block this offseason, which I don't think it's going to be for relief pitching. Would have liked to have seen him have a much better second half and a better August when he was stepping in for Josh Jung. Then that trade value would have been sky high, and the Rangers would have had a real problem, a real question about what they were going to do in left field, because at this point this year, I didn't think Evan Carter was going to be up. I thought it was going to be Leody Taveras pretty much every day in left field or in center field, and Ezekiel Duran every day in left field, and then Adolis, Garcia in right field. But next year, you got a question. You got a real question of what are you going to do, because the Rangers don't have a whole lot of spots in their lineup to fill next year, which is a very good thing to have, because most of this lineup is locked up for the long term. The only real question, it seems like, it's going to be a DH. So do the Rangers try and re-sign Garver? I think they should. I think signing to the qualifying offer, which he'll be, available for, it'll probably be around like 19 or almost 20 million for 1 year, which sounds like a lot for Mitch Garver, a guy who does have a lot of injury concerns, but we have seen the Mitch Garver that can make a huge difference if you play him carefully, if you are, very, very judicious with his at-bats and his games played, if you are, keeping him injury-free and have him down the stretch, how much of an impact he can make. I mean, the Rangers have been in such a rough way basically since that Jonah Heim injury, but without Mitch Garver, it would have been so much worse. You would have seen a lot more Sam Huff, you would have seen a lot more Austin Hedges, which, no shade to either of those guys, but they are nowhere near the offensive firecracker that Mitch Garver is. Like, the Rangers have needed him so badly, and to be able to have that second catcher who is your everyday DH, who's providing this level of power, is incredibly important. And, the Rangers have some questions as to what they're going to do. Maybe they'll end up trading Leody Taveras, putting Evan Carter as your everyday center fielder, and saying Wyatt Langford is ready for an everyday left field spot. I don't think the Rangers will really know that until camp next year. And my thought that maybe they were going to promote Wyatt Langford up to the big leagues. I mean, you can take Evan Carter out of the lineup every day when he's got a 1,032 OPS and hitting .314. You can take Leody Taveras out when he's got a 400 on base over the last 15 games and plays much, much better defense than Wyatt Langford. You can take Mitch Garver out, who, again, has been absolutely mashing basically since the 4th of July. I don't think you necessarily are. And so maybe the Rangers answer that with calling up Langford anyway and making me look incredibly stupid, but I don't think they do. And I mean, man, like I said, when this lineup is clicking on all cylinders, and the fact that it is so locked in that pretty much everybody in this lineup outside of Mitch Garver is under contract for at least another 2 seasons after this. Just such incredibly good news for this Texas Rangers team. I mean, man, if you had just gotten a decent start from Jon Gray, you could feel a little bit good about the bullpen not having to do too much work. And but that's not where this Rangers team is. The Rangers team is flawed. It does need the occasional 15-run outing from the offense to take a series against the scuffling Boston Red Sox. It does occasionally need those comeback performances like it got on Tuesday. It does occasionally need the, absolute annihilation in that 4-game series against the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, occasionally this team does need that. It does make it more exciting, more nerve-wracking, more stressful. But again, even though this is a flawed team, just like every freaking team in the big leagues, this is a good freaking team. This is one of the best offenses in baseball. It is trustworthy. It is good. It is filled top to bottom with stars, with depth. Even if you're bringing guys off the bench, like I said, all those guys are pretty freaking quality to have coming off of your bench. If Robbie Grossman is your first guy off your bench, bat-wise, then you are in a pretty darn good situation with how good he has been doing so far. And man, I cannot wait to watch this team absolutely feast on playoff pitching, whether it's against the Twins, whether it's against the Mariners, whether it's against the Blue Jays, Rays, Astros, Orioles. I don't freaking care. This offense can go toe-to-toe with anybody, can batter and bruise any pitching staff that is thrown out there, and if they are healthy, and if they are all clicking at the same time, even if one of them or two of them or even three of them aren't, this lineup can absolutely be good enough to win you a World freaking Series. That's going to do it for today's show. Again, be sure to tune in tomorrow with the Cespedes Family Barbecue Boys coming on. We talk a little bit about this season as a whole, their national perspective on this team. Should be a lot of fun. Really, really looking forward to that. And then again on Monday to check out this Rangers-Mariners series that could be one heck of a weekend. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy Playoff Chase Texas Rangers baseball.